The first thing you did was press the button. The roof of the tiny Aston Martin DB5 slowly popped open. Then, in a split second, James Bond was catapulted into the air, vanishing behind the couch without a trace. Odds are you never saw him again. Even now, that tiny moment is enough to take you straight back to the first time you held the world's most famous spy car. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment letting us know where you are watching from. You were not the only boy who lost him. Nearly 4 million of those cars were sold, and nearly 4 million little plastic men were launched into ceilings, across living rooms, into backyards, into heating vents, behind bookshelves, and into the mouths of family dogs in the first 24 hours of Christmas morning across 2 continents. The company that made the car knew this. When they reissued it decades later, they included 2 figures instead of 1, and the description said, "Countless numbers were lost down the back of the sofa or between gaps in the floorboards or eaten by your dog. Now you will have that vital spare." They were not joking. They were speaking from data, from millions of letters and phone calls and complaints from mothers who found little plastic men in vacuum cleaner bags, and from boys who never forgave the couch for swallowing the only part of the toy that mattered. But before the car, before the ejector seat, before Christmas morning, there was the SPY craze. And the SPY craze changed everything. It started with a man in a suit who ordered his drink a specific way and drove a car that could kill you. His name was Bond, James Bond. And when Goldfinger hit theaters in 1964, something shifted in the American boyhood. The cowboys were done. Johnny West went back in the box. The cap guns went in the drawer. Because suddenly, every boy in America did not want to be a cowboy anymore. Every boy in America wanted to be a SPY. It was not just Bond. It was everything that came after him. The man from UNCLE on Tuesday nights, Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin, the American and the Russian, working together when the real Americans and Russians were pointing nuclear missiles at each other. Get Smart on Saturday nights. Maxwell Smart with the shoe phone that every boy tried to replicate with his father's loafer and a piece of string. I Spy. Mission Impossible. The tape that self-destructed in 5 seconds, which you reenacted by holding a lit match under a piece of notebook paper until your mother smelled the smoke. The Avengers. Secret agent man on the radio, Johnny Rivers singing a song that every boy knew by heart and hummed while walking to school with an invisible gun in his pocket and an invisible microphone in his shoe. The spy craze did not tiptoe into the 1960s. It kicked the door down, and for 4 or 5 years, every boy in America walked differently, talked differently, looked over his shoulder differently. You made a gun with your fingers, index finger extended, thumb up, the other 3 curled, and you held it next to your face and you spun around corners. You rolled across the lawn to avoid imaginary laser beams. You spoke into your wristwatch. You hid behind the couch and listened to your parents' conversation and reported it to nobody. You had a code name. Your best friend had a code name. The girl next door was either the beautiful double agent or the enemy, depending on whether she had been nice to you that day. Being a spy was not a game you played for an hour after school. Being a spy was a full-time identity. You were on a mission from the moment you woke up until the moment your mother told you to stop talking into your wristwatch and eat your dinner. And the toy company saw it coming like a freight train. The car came first, a small company in Wales called Corgi, part of a larger company called Met Toy, founded by a Jewish refugee from Nazi Germany named Philip Ullman, secured the license to make a toy version of James Bond's Aston Martin DB5 from the movie Goldfinger. And they did not make a toy. They made a miniature weapon. It was 4 inches long. Gold, not silver like in the film, because someone at Corgi decided at the last minute that gold looked more special on a toy shelf than silver, and that someone was absolutely right. The gold paint caught the light in a way that silver never could, and when you saw it through the plastic window of the box, sitting in its foam cradle with the little instruction sheet, and the tiny figure in the passenger seat, you understood immediately that this was not a regular toy car. This was a machine, a weapon, a piece of equipment issued to you by Her Majesty's Secret Service for a mission that you would spend the rest of your childhood inventing. It had machine guns that popped out of the front bumper when you pressed a small lever on the left side of the car, 2 chrome barrels that extended from behind the front bumper and made you whisper pew, 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 even though the car was 4 inches long and the guns were the size of toothpicks. It had a bulletproof shield that rose from the trunk when you pushed the twin exhaust pipes. It had tire slashers that extended from the wheel hubs, tiny chrome blades that a real spy would use to shred the tires of the car next to him at 70 miles an hour. It had revolving license plates, press a tab, and the plate changed from one number to another because a spy needs to disappear and a boy needs to believe that disappearing is possible. And it had the ejector seat, the red button on the right side of the car, the feature that sold 3.9 million units and ruined 3.9 million Christmas mornings in the most magnificent way possible. You pressed it. The roof popped open on a spring hinge, the passenger seat launched upward, and the little plastic man, the bad guy, the villain, the faceless enemy of everything you stood for as an 8-year-old secret agent, flew into the air with a force that no toy that size should have been capable of producing. He hit the ceiling, he hit the lampshade, he hit your sister, he cleared the dining table and landed in the mashed potatoes at Easter. He flew out the car window and landed on the roof of the garage, and you had to get the ladder. The spring in that ejector seat was not calibrated for indoor use. It was calibrated for joy. Pure, unreasonable, ceiling-denting joy. They released it 7 weeks before Christmas, 1965. Toy shops reported shelves being cleared within minutes. Corgi could not manufacture them fast enough. By Christmas Day, they were sold out across England and America and most of Europe. They sold 750,000 before December 25th. They eventually sold 3.9 million. Toy of the Year, 1965, the best-selling Corgi model of all time. The best-selling toy car in the history of the toy industry, and every single one of them lost its little man within a week. But the Corgi was the small version, the die-cast version, the one that fit in your pocket and went to school with you and rolled across your desk when the teacher was writing on the blackboard. There was a bigger version, a much bigger version, and it came from a company that bet everything on James Bond and lost. The A.C. Gilbert Company was one of the oldest and most respected toy companies in America, founded by Alfred Carlton Gilbert, a man who had won an Olympic gold medal in pole vault in 1908 before deciding that what he really wanted to do was make toys. He invented the Erector set. He invented the chemistry set. He built a company in New Haven, Connecticut that had been making toys for more than 50 years. And in 1965, Gilbert looked at the spy craze and saw the future. He was right about the future. He was wrong about the cost. Gilbert licensed the James Bond name and went all in. Not a single toy, an entire world. 12-inch action figures, Bond in his tuxedo, Odd Job with his deadly hat, Goldfinger in his gold jacket, outfit kits so you could dress your Bond figure in scuba gear from Thunderball or safari clothes or a ski suit, 3-inch figurines, the most extensive James Bond figure line ever produced, featuring characters from the first 4 films, spy action sets with miniature vehicles and dioramas, a road race slot car set with the Aston Martin on the track, and their own version of the DB5, bigger than the Corgi, battery-powered, with machine guns that lit up when you pressed the trigger, and an ejector seat that launched the bad guy with enough force to clear the kitchen table. Gilbert spent $6 million on the Bond license, In 1965, $6 million was enough to build a factory. It was an all-or-nothing bet on a single movie franchise by a company that had been making erector sets and chemistry kits for half a century, and the toys sold. The Thunderball Scuba Bond was a strong seller. The Aston Martin moved off the shelves. The spy action sets found their way into Christmas stockings, but $6 million is a deep hole to climb out of. The toys sold well, but not well enough to cover the cost of the license, plus the cost of production, plus the cost of marketing an entire toy line in a market where Mattel and Hasbro had more shelf space and bigger budgets. Gilbert had bet the company on Bond. Bond did not bet on Gilbert. In 1967, the A.C. Gilbert Company filed for bankruptcy. The company that had been founded by an Olympic champion who believed that every boy in America deserved a toy that taught him how to build things. The company that had given America the erector set, the toy that made 1 million boys want to be engineers. The company that had given America the chemistry set, the toy that made 1 million boys want to be scientists. The company that had survived 2 world wars, a depression, and 50 years of competition from companies 10 times its size. That company was gone. Not because it made bad toys, not because the toys did not sell, because it bet $6 million on a British spy and the spy was not enough to save it. The factory in New Haven went silent. The machines that had stamped erector set parts for decades were unplugged. The workers went home, and the Bond license expired, and the 12-inch figures stopped being made, and the outfit kits vanished from the shelves, and the spy action sets disappeared from toy stores, and every piece of the James Bond world that Gilbert had built, the figures, the cars, the sets, the accessories, the scuba gear, the tuxedo, the deadly hat for Oddjob became orphans. Toys without a company, products without a manufacturer, a collection of spy equipment with no one left to issue the mission, no replacement parts, no new accessories, no catalogs to order from, no store to walk into and say, I need the flippers for my Thunderball Bond because my dog ate them. When something broke or got lost, that was it. It was gone. And one by one over the years, the figures lost their accessories, and the accessories lost their boxes, and the boxes got crushed, and the whole collection ended up in a cardboard box in the attic that your mother put next to the Christmas decorations and the boxes of old Life magazines, where it sat for 10 years until the family moved and your mother asked if you wanted any of that stuff in the attic, and you said no because you were 23 and you did not need toy spy equipment anymore. She threw it away, all of it. The Bond figure in the tuxedo, the Oddjob with the hat, the scuba gear, the Aston Martin with the machine guns that lit up, gone, in a trash bag, on a curb. In 1975, everything Gilbert made is now a collector's item. Heritage Auctions sold a Gilbert Bond lot just last week. The 12-inch figures go for $100. The Aston Martin goes for $200 to $600 depending on condition. The Thunderball Bond in the original box has been listed at £450. None of these prices will make you rich, but all of them will make you remember. The SPY craze lasted about 5 years. By 1969, the cowboys were coming back, not on horseback, but in moon boots. The space race replaced the spy race in the American boy's imagination. Major Matt Mason took Bond's shelf space. G.I. Joe went from soldier to adventurer. The spy toys did not die dramatically. They faded. The decoder rings ended up in junk drawers. The invisible ink pens dried out. The periscopes got bent. And the Aston Martins, the gold ones with the ejector seats and the missing little men, ended up in boxes in attics and basements and garages waiting for someone to remember them. The spy craze gave you something that no other toy era gave you. It gave you sophistication. Cowboys were rough, soldiers were tough, astronauts were brave, but spies were smart. Spies wore suits. Spies had gadgets that fit in a watch or a pen or a shoe. Spies knew things that other people did not know. Spies walked into a room and noticed everything: the exits, the cameras, the man at the bar who was pretending to read a newspaper but was actually listening to your conversation. Spies had a drink they ordered a specific way, and a car they drove a specific way, and a name they said a specific way. Bond. James Bond. 3 words, a pause after the first one. You practiced it. In the mirror, in the bathroom with the door locked. You said it to yourself 50 times until you got the pause right and the expression right. One eyebrow slightly raised, a hint of a smile that said, "I know something you do not know." And when you walked around the house with your collar turned up and your eyes narrowed and your fingers shaped like a gun, and you said that line to your reflection, you were not pretending to be strong or fast or brave. You were pretending to be cool. You were 8 years old and you were practicing being cool. And it worked. It worked because the Aston Martin was in your pocket and the decoder ring was on your finger and the invisible ink pen was in your shirt pocket, and you were on a mission that only you knew about. And the mission was important, and the world depended on you, and you had all the equipment you needed. You were Bond. For 1 year, for 2 years, for however long the spy craze lasted in your particular neighborhood, before someone showed up with a Major Matt Mason and suddenly everyone wanted to go to the moon instead of Monte Carlo. You did not know that the company that made your 12-inch Bond figure was going bankrupt. You did not know that the Corgi factory in Wales was running 3 shifts to meet demand. You did not know that the spy craze would be over in 3 years and that the little gold car would end up in a box in your mother's attic next to your baseball glove and your Cub Scout uniform. You did not know any of that. You were 8. You were on a mission, and the mission was to find the little man who flew out of the ejector seat on Christmas morning and landed somewhere behind the couch in the living room of a house your family moved out of in 1971. That little man is still there, in that house, behind that couch, or under the heating vent, or between the floorboards, or in the yard where it bounced after you shot it through the open window that one time when your mother was not looking. He is there. He has been there for 60 years, and the boy who launched him is sitting right here watching this, remembering the sound of the spring and the pop of the roof and the arc of the little plastic figure as it flew for one beautiful second through the air of a living room on Christmas morning in 1965. You never found him, but you never stopped looking.